when we first started, we were getting 2,000 visits a month to our site. So, most people are there like, 2,000 visits is amazing. Like, that's so amazing.
Sure.
We were doing pretty decent on traffic, but we wanted more, obviously. And I think we were getting like, requests for quotes, maybe like 1 a month, maybe. Now we get through our ebooks and everything like that, we get like 20 requested quotes a month. We get like, what did we hit this month? Something like 1,200 marketing qualified leads. Like, it's insane, like absolutely insane.
Wow.
But most people think like, wow, that's amazing. Wow, it's a lot of work, and I have to build out this and this. You don't start off that way. You start one little step at a time.
Right.
And luckily with softwares like Hubspot, they give you the training, the inbound certification, the Hubspot certification that explains all of that really, really well for you.
I'm Shayna. I love dogs, I trip a lot, and I happen to have a knack for making pretty sweet videos for businesses. But the more videos we made, the more questions I got about how video and other content can be leveraged to make a bigger impact in their marketing. I mean, 44% of marketers say that producing content is their biggest challenge, yet content marketing is 62% less expensive than outbound and produces 3 times more leads. Now, I know a lot, but I certainly don't know it all, so I made it my mission to talk with content kings, queens, and bosses to learn as much as I could about crushing content marketing, and I'm taking you along with me. Welcome to the Content Coalition.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we are here with Will Curran, the Chief Event Einstein of Endless Events, and he has what he's calling a video talk show?
Yeah, live talk show.
A live talk show, which is a form of a video podcast, if you ask me. And we are going to talk today about how he uses automation and tracking with a couple different platforms to actually understand what his talk show is doing for him and his company.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to answer any questions. This is cool because we don't do a lot of behind the scenes because we're constantly in front of the camera.
Right.
So I'm excited to talk about all the tech and everything that goes into what we formerly know as EventIcons, or as it's written, #EventIcons.
Oh, it is written #EventIcons.
#EventIcons.
Okay, cool. We have awesome mugs.
Awesome
We're
mugs.
drinking tea whilst we talk.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Close up on the mugs.
Close up on the mugs. Cue close up.
All right, so tell me about #EventIcons.
So EventIcons was created out of my selfish desire to use a platform known as Blab. Rest in peace, Blab.
Right.
It was basically like 4-quadrant live video chat that allowed people to tune in live and chat in a physical text chat while people were being interviewed and things like that. Really simple platform, was awesome, and I really wanted to try it out. And also just kind of had this selfish desire to meet all the icons of the events industry. Right. So I figured, why don't we try both, knock down 2 things with 1 stone, or whatever you say, and basically decided to create the show at #EventIcons. We set up 5 episodes scheduled and went for it, and it blew up. People really loved it because.
What do you mean by blow up? What?
We started sharing because we already had a little bit of influence on the industry, but it was still just primarily an AV, and it wasn't really that big. No one knew us as an icon.
Right.
And it seemed like episode 1 was a little meh. It was probably because Dan Tyre was interviewing me, and no one wants to hear me talk. Why the hell?
I want to hear you.
Why are you watching this? Why are you watching this episode right now? Just tune off. But then the second episode, we did Laura Lopez and Sean Holiday and Liz King, and we talked about event tech and marketing and everything. And it just tons of people were coming in because Blab was all about. You could share live GIFs of the show happening while it's happening, and the whole idea was that there was a click to tweet and click to Facebook button. So when you did it, it also showed in the chat who was sharing. So it was this social proof of you doing it. So it was really naturally really, really good. But yeah, unfortunately Blab died, so we had to switch, which I can talk about in a little bit. But it was, I think it just really, really helped. And before I knew it, we were doing it every single week, and that's the one weird thing. So that's one not a lot of people know about the show. It's every Wednesday, live at 5 p.m. Live
that
at Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, every single week.
And not live, we recorded it a while ago, but it's live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Legit live.
Legit,
okay.
if in the case of Blab, which never, started having technical issues, if the tech didn't work, we could, the show would start 30 minutes later, whatever it was. So, it was so stressful. You had to do it perfectly every single time. There was no editing involved. It was just raw.
Wow.
And I think what aided to the platform is that, Blab was all about people being able to ask questions, so we kept that format. It was like an AMA, Ask Me Anything style, where you could always, the audience got to ask the icons of the events industry anything they are saying. And I think that aids to it, though. It's that it's not filtered. It's not a fancy blog post. It's you're meeting these people, and you ask the questions, and then you're getting their first answer, like in the flesh.
Wow.
Which is really cool.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So it blew up, and you told me a story about getting one of your largest clients, and it kind of filtered through your
the podcast.
The podcast.
Yeah, totally.
So how did you know that?
Yeah.
And tell me kind of the process.
So first, to understand the process and how we got them, you have to understand how the show works. Okay. So Blab doesn't exist. We had to go to a more privatized like webinar format. We started with GoToWebinar for a while. That got clunky, so we switched over to Zoom. Same Zoom web conferencing. They have a webinar platform, and basically allows you to do 4 people banking. We wanted to always have 4 people on screen at the same time. Not one person's talking, this one shows up. We wanted to always show everyone. So like you're on the whole time. You have to be smiling. You can't like look away. Like it's just, but that's what people like. It's raw and unedited, right? So we do Zoom as the primary, and the way you tune in is that you sign up on a landing page, just like as if you're signing for an ebook or another webinar. You sign up for it on a landing page that way to watch on Zoom.
So you're collecting their data
that way
before they can watch it.
Before they can watch it.
Okay.
And I wanted that. It was kind of a test because we didn't obviously have it with Blab. Blab would just tell us like their Twitter username. That was it. But then I was like, well, if I can collect data, I want to give it a try and see how it works. And obviously, immediately like numbers dropped. We can get as many viewers as possible. Like obvious, right?
Yeah, right.
But then we started playing around with some other things. So the next thing that we started doing more recently, as of 10 episodes ago, we also simulcast to Facebook Live. And that's hence switching to Zoom allows you to do that. So we also go to Facebook Live and then blast that to all the groups and across all of the places. So that works out really, really well. But then we also take the recording. We also post on the blog a week later after the episode. Okay. So on Tuesday following. And then the Tuesday following after that, it gets posted on YouTube. So the idea is that one piece of content is basically being shared multiple times all throughout. But all centered is all the purpose of, and I keep telling my co-hosts and everyone's like, the whole post thing is to get them to drive them back to that landing page to watch it on Zoom, because then they can actually ask the questions directly versus like Facebook, we do collect their questions, but eventually we want to get to the point where it's like, hey, we're not really having to do that. And the whole way you get to ask questions if you tune in and enter your information.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So then the second part of your question, which is how do we know who these people are? Obviously the landing page helps, right?
Sure.
But then you still like, well, how do you know they watched it? All these things like that. And how do you know where they came from? I mean, because a landing page Sam can come in, you just get that person's name, but you don't know whether they came from Facebook ads or this and that.
Right, yeah.
Now with all this analytical data, in this case Hubspot, which is what we use,
right.
It actually told us that this client came from a single LinkedIn group, an event group, that we posted the episode. We weren't even promoting the landing page or anything. We were posting the episode post. I don't know which one it is. I probably should figure it out which one the episode it was. But she watched that episode, and then she subscribed to watch the show. And you have to give your first name, last name, email address. And then it also, when that happens, then you go through a lead nurturing sequence that starts offering ebooks, so we can collect budget data, your location, all those things. Well, we get location through HubSpot, but we get all that information, and then that's what considers them a marketing qualified lead. Well, what's interesting is before that even happened, they didn't even go into a sales process or anything like that. She got the email to subscribe, and I have a single email that you get whenever you subscribe to our blog. It's called like the letter from the founder.
Yeah.
For those who wonder what the chief event Einstein is, I'm basically the founder of the company.
It's a real fancy
it's
name.
It's like we say like letter from the founder, Will Curran. And it's a letter that just says like, hey, thank you so much for subscribing. It talks a little bit about our mission and what we're all about. And at the bottom, it's the greatest line ever you can put in your intro to your emails. You ready for this? I got this idea from Groove. They're a customer support software. And in the email, the welcome email, it says, hey, if you're ever in Phoenix, Arizona, which is where I live, let me know. I love meeting other event professionals and event planners. And it's that simple.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just says like, hey, it's just an open welcome.
Yeah.
And you think, like, a lot of people when they hear that, they think, dear God, like, how many people hit you up? And, like, you must be so busy because everyone wants your time. 3 people, maybe, like, maybe a week will reply to it. And most of them are just like, I'm not in Phoenix right now, but I'll let you know if I am.
Yeah.
Well, this person said, hey, I'm in Phoenix all the time. My mom lives there. I'm going to be there in 3 weeks. Let's meet up and grab coffee. And I just remember being like, yep, sure. I'm all about adding value. had coffee with had coffee with her. Cheers, thank you, Tina, for grabbing coffee with me. And we just grabbed coffee. I didn't have any agenda. I wasn't trying to sell or anything like that.
Right.
I was just like, hey, I want to meet my subscribers and see what they think. And sat down, and she started saying, like, talking about the events she did. And at first, I remember being like, oh yeah, she doesn't really do events that we do. Like, I remember like kind of qualifying her in my mind.
Yeah.
But then she's like, but I do this one event. And then she explained it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is my ideal client. Like, and I was like, well, let me know if I can help at all. And she, we basically, part of our value add process is to look at the quotes and the other vendors are working with, and it turned out that we really could add value to what she was doing. And like, we didn't have to bid on it, we didn't have to do it. Like, we showed that we could add value to what we were doing. And of course we were lower priced than the competitor was, but that's just naturally part of our model. And that's how we get the client.
Wow.
From one, like, a subscriber email.
And so through
And an organic post on LinkedIn.
an organic post on LinkedIn of an episode, she went watch the episode, then
Yeah.
that's incredible.
That's simple, yeah. And luckily, I mean, to be honest, like, if it wasn't for Hubspot and having that tracking data and doing the landing page, I would never know she would come from that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would have just thought, oh, she clicked on a post from LinkedIn in general, or maybe a social network, and now look where now she's a client. Okay, great. But now I knew it was because of the podcast episode. So then we doubled down on the podcast.
Yeah, right, exactly. You do what works.
Yep.
So in HubSpot, let's kind of dive into that a little bit, because even me, like, I have HubSpot. I don't have like the full-fledged, I have a CRM.
Totally.
But like, it's really it will take you to every tiny click that each person does in the lifetime of like their engagement with you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the very interesting. So I have the pro version, which is, back in the day, it was the middle of the ground. Now there's like a million different other versions.
Right.
And I apologize for anyone who's watching this. I'm not very familiar with the lower plans, obviously, because all my plan has all those features.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, I think, for HubSpot that gives value is the contact timeline. That was the one thing I think I noticed with other marketing automation softwares. They can show you when they opened emails. They can show you when they clicked links in emails and maybe where they came from. But what I love about HubSpot is it puts a cookie on their browser and also tracks their IP address. Yeah. So, for example, if you go to my site right now, go to helloendless.com, download an ebook, sign up for the podcast, get into one of the landing pages. It has to be a landing page, one of the forms. It will drop a cookie in your browser and then track your IP address. And then I can go to your contact timeline and be like, Shayna, okay, she was on this page. She watched this episode. And because we post all of our episodes on Wistia allows us to show how much of the episode she watched, which is incredible, because it's great to be like, oh, you watch a podcast, but if you could target people who watch 100% of the episode, that's where you can go really, really far. And it just gives you a lot of analytical data. And I know, like, a lot of people think, wow, this is just a lot.
It is a lot. But it feels like a lot.
It feels like a lot.
Yeah,
but
right.
When you're starting, though, too, like, when we first started, we were getting 2,000 visits a month to our site. So most people are there like, 2,000 visits is amazing. Like, that's so amazing.
Sure.
We were doing pretty decent on traffic, but we wanted more, obviously. And I think we were getting, like, requests for quotes, maybe like one a month, maybe. Now we get, through our ebooks and everything like that, we get like 20 requested quotes a month. We get like, what did we hit this month? Something like 1,200 marketing qualified leads. Like, it's insane, like absolutely insane.
Wow.
But most people think like, wow, that's amazing. Wow, it's a lot of work, and I have to build out this. You don't start off that way. You start one little step at a time.
Right.
And luckily with softwares like HubSpot, they give you the training, the inbound certification, the HubSpot certification that explains all of that really, really well for you.
All right, guys, we all know that the absolute dream would be to have a ton of inbound leads that are qualified and that convert. And HubSpot is the tool that will help you do that. Their big mantra is what's good for the business has to be good for the customer. And what other way to get great leads and to get people influxing than with a software that understands how to make that relationship work? Now, HubSpot is an incredible platform. We've been using them for a really long time. The great thing about it is they have free services, and then they also scale with you depending on how massive your marketing strategy becomes. So go check out HubSpot. We've got a link for you in the description. They are incredible, and you won't regret it.
So for people who are just starting out with a podcast, video, audio, whatever, right? What is the first thing that they should really think about doing to make it successful, do you think?
Well, obviously have good content. That's the obvious thing, right? Like, we were in a sea of like probably five other event planning podcasts or event industry podcasts. And one of which, ironically, came out right before ours, was from like the big media company that exists in our industry. And so
great.
we were like, whatever. But to me, it wasn't like I was competing against them. I was just like, I'm doing something completely different. I'm doing this AMA style. Like everyone else was doing pre-recorded episodes. I wanted to do it live. And mainly I wanted to use Blab. But
mainly it was Blab.
But it worked out pretty well. And I think because the content's so good, it's so unique that we're picking the brains of the people that they want to meet, right? Like our most popular episodes are the ones where they get to meet the people behind South by Southwest and New York Comic Con and everything. So that content, I think, is the most important part.
Okay.
The second part of it is figuring out a way that you can use your podcast to drive back to a owned property, your website, your blog, everything like that. I think we're in a day and age where it's just so funny that this is still happening. We always talk about like owned versus rented land. And, everyone understands, you wouldn't have a Facebook page instead of your homepage, right? That's obvious now. Everyone knows that. But far too often we're seeing it where people are just posting their podcast and it's all on iTunes and that's it. And it's like, no, you need to spread it all to drive it back to your blog, get them to become subscribers. You got to get those emails and at least start with email addresses. But figure out some sort of way that you can ask for their first name, last name, phone number, and email address, and then go from there too.
Yeah.
And make that offer just as good as your content for your blog.
Got it.
And I think that is where you'll start to see real big results with your podcast.
When you say that offer, you mean they get to your page and you say, download my fill in the blank.
Yeah, fill in the blank.
And make that just as awesome.
Yeah. So for example,
relevant.
I think one of my favorite offers is Marketing School with Neil Patel and Eric Sue.
Yeah.
They do a 5-minute podcast. I mean, talk about like cool content. Like everyone does, like ours is an hour-long podcast. We chose more like the Tim Ferriss, This Week in Tech style model, like really long-form content.
Yeah.
There's obviously podcasts like this, like shorter length, medium length. But then theirs is 5 minutes. But at the end of every episode, they say, we have a giveaway. It's very interesting. I think they're struggling with figuring out how they're going to do it different because you watch 200 episodes, you keep hearing them say, giveaway. You're starting to tune it out after a while.
Right.
But they say, like, hey, we're giving away a free version of our software that one of them developed. Go there to sign up to get this free thing. We're picking one person per episode.
Got it.
That is something that people can't turn away from, that they're going to be willing to give their information up for.
Yeah.
You have to make it that good. It can't be like, oh, get the transcription. No one cares about transcription.
Yeah.
It can't be like, oh, get this ebook. No one cares. It can't be like, sign up for this webinar. Like, it has to be so damn good they can't turn away. So for us, I mean, this is an easy one. Steal this one. Facebook group. So we created a Facebook group and we say, sign up. You not only get subscribed to get the notifications of everything, you're going to get additional content. And at the end of it, the nurturing sequence, we offer an invite to our Facebook group.
Got it.
And we're just starting that out. That's probably going to be something we follow up on in a couple months to have some feedback on it. But I think it's starting. People are like, ooh, I want to meet other event professionals.
Yeah.
And what's cool about it too is we invite our guests into it too.
Got it.
So we go, oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can mention, the guy who plans South by Southwest and ask him questions further beyond this, which I think is invaluable to everyone.
Well, that's because my next question was like, okay, somebody who's just starting a podcast is going to be like, well, why do they want to join my group? But if the guest who they were interested in is also a member of the group, then that changes the game.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then counter to that question, people who are already doing this, people who are already video podcasting and stuff that maybe aren't utilizing all of these tools like you are, what is the first thing, give them one thing that they should be doing to make it even better?
So they already have a video podcast. Maybe they have like a simple blog they're posting episodes on.
They're sending it to an owned land space. What do they need to do?
So first thing is some sort of email collection service.
Okay.
That's the basic steps. I mean, you absolutely have to nail that down, right? MailChimp. Just use MailChimp. Yeah. It's awesome. Just don't ask questions. Just use MailChimp. Just go to MailChimp. Look at also HubSpot. HubSpot's got a lot of free, cheap tools. If you're a startup, they have the startup program, which is like 90% off as well. There's a lot of really great tools for it. Start with that. Then start to figure out ways that, ooh, man, this is the next big one. Figure out ways, again, to create that offer that you're going to attract people to. Yeah. And that's facilitated by a landing page. So HubSpot has that tool built in, but, for example, you can use like lead pages, oh my God, I don't know as many. ClickFunnels. Yeah. There's a bunch of tools. Yeah, landing page tool. Best landing page tool, just Google it. Whatever, you'll find it out.
Yeah.
But then start with that and then create that offer and draw people into it. And then figure out a way to keep them engaged throughout the entire time. So create like a really good newsletter. Make it so it's just an RSS feed of your newsletter, whatever it has to be.
Yeah.
But like you have to figure out a way to keep them engaged. And then the biggest thing as well is then start to follow up with those people. You're going to start collecting email addresses, collecting leads. Get someone on your team who's really good with people to just call them and ask them questions. So I saw you signed up for the podcast. What'd you think of it? What was your favorite episode? Don't sell. Just ask questions. And before you know it, you're going to get feedback on the podcast. So we start getting feedback on our blog content, our ebooks, and everything like that. But then as well is that you're going to end up finding that some of these people eventually are going to be like, so why are you calling me? What do you do? And they're asking the invitation, give the invitation to sell. And so that's basically our model is if you read the book, Sales Acceleration... Take a drink of tea real quick.
Tea break.
Tea break.
This tea break is brought to you by...
Endless Events. The Sales Acceleration Formula.
Okay.
It's by Mark Roberge. It's basically their chief revenue officer of HubSpot. So it's how they built the sales team to match the inbound marketing. Everyone has heard of inbound marketing, content marketing. Probably you're inbound certified or you've read the inbound marketing book. This is how you build a sales team to follow up with that. We basically cloned that exact model and crushes it for us. And that's where you end up having really great conversations. And it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you a full-time salesperson, but I promise you, within a year, you'll make your money back.
That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well then, last question. What is your favorite podcast? Video or audio or show or,
It changes.
Yeah. So how about what right now?
Ooh.
What are you all into?
What am I very into right now? I'll start with like the classic, and I'm just gonna be repeated so many times on this show. I'm just gonna. I want to be the first. I'll be the one that say it. But Tim Ferriss's blog podcast is fantastic. That was obviously a huge focus on it, and it's just I love the format. The longer format of it, I think, really allows you to get to know the guests. Yeah. So that's why I like that one a lot. I love Marketing School because it's a new format that you can digest every day. So for example, because it's every day, I can miss it for like 4 days and then put them all in a quick playlist and knock them out in 20 minutes. Yeah. And that's really cool. I also like that they're insanely tactical too. That's the one thing I think that podcasts unfortunately are also moving away from is, and we as a podcast are also sometimes naturally doing that as well, is you move away from being tactical to being very strategic and big thought, and that's great, but to be honest, like podcasts come out so quick, and because you can get them out so fast, I think they need to be tactical, because if someone wants strategy, they can listen to an audiobook, right? And that's what an audiobook, in my opinion, is for. Whereas, like, I want to hear, like, what tools are you using? What are you doing for this?
What can I do today?
Yep,
that will help me.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of my favorite podcasts for that, too, as well, was The Art of Paid Traffic.
Okay.
Which is a great one if you're looking to learn about Facebook ads and paid traffic funnels. But I knew nothing about Facebook ads, and I was looking for podcasts. I don't remember how I found out about his podcast. But then I just started really early on episodes, and I like kind of skipped the case study ones and focused more on like what tools you use, this and this. And he taught me basically Facebook ads over this podcast.
Wow.
Which is really, really cool. And I think he has a really, really great podcast, and I think he's really tactical. My favorite part is he's like, end of the year updates. Okay, here's all the things that happened with Facebook ads in the last 3 months. Here's the things that you need to know about. Like, here's the tool. Oh, by the way, they came out with this new feature. That's so cool, and that's what I look for in podcasts. Is super tactical. A lot of times, you get into this fluffy discussion topics, and I'm like, great. Like, I don't need more strategy. I need more tactics. I want to hear from people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can only hear to crush it so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like work hard. I'm trying to crush it, man.
Crush it.
If you crush it, you're fine. Yeah, but how do I crush it right now?
Exactly.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with the world? Oh. Because the whole world is watching this episode.
Hello, world. Let's see.
Any other gems of knowledge?
Gems of knowledge. I think, every podcast talks about this, but don't worry about the gear. You see all those fancy microphones and ultra-wide monitors and cool lights and things. But start off with, whatever you can to get started.
Yeah. Just start. And that's the hardest part.
And the big thing is to, like, make your first episode, like, undeniably great. And make it a great introduction to what you're going to say, and then keep that consistency of the style of it. The worst thing I've had is, like, I've started a podcast and I start, like, one episode, I'm like, wow, this is so great. Then I go episode 2, I'm like, this is not as good. Episode 3, and then you lost me. Like, if I'm going 2 episodes in with you, I'm giving you a real big chance.
Yeah,
if I get 3 in, like, you have to be rocking it, and if you don't, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Like, and there's been podcasts that, I drop and come back to occasionally, but, like, there's a key group that's stayed forever.
Yeah. So then tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they want more Will Curran in their lives.
Well, if you want more Will Curran in your lives, you can find my dating No, I'm just kidding. No.
He's a Scorpio.
I'm a Scorpio. If you guys ever want to reach out to me, I'm really accessible. You can find me all over the internet. You search Will Curran. On Twitter, it's Will Curran, ITS Will Curran. That's a great place to start. Also, just check out the podcast EventIcons. What you'll find is that if you can find Endless and you can find me online, I'm really accessible. LinkedIn is a great place to start too. And then I don't know how, but some people are finding my email addresses somewhere. So wherever you can find my email address, feel free to do that too. But I mean, definitely feel free to reach out anytime if you have questions. I'm really accessible. Always happy to talk shop and strategy and tactics. The most important thing.
And I think that it says a lot in itself. The fact that you can find him anywhere. Like you should be able to do that also on your podcast.
Totally.
People need to be able to find you. All right. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Content Coalition. Now, whether you're listening or watching, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and to whatever platform you're listening to it on, because you're not going to want to miss out on the incredible things that I'm learning with these amazing content marketing pros. So make sure you subscribe, and we will talk to you next week.